Imagine being thrown out of the only place you ever called home with no hope and no one to turn to. That was Naomi's reality, until one day she met a billionaire who changed everything. But this isn't just a story of rescue, it's a tale of betrayal, hidden truths, and a love that no one, not even Naomi, saw coming. How did a poor laundry maid with nothing but a mat and a bowl of soaked gari become something so much more? Let's begin. In a small town where news spread faster than fire, there lived a quiet, hard-working young woman named Naomi, an orphan since childhood. She had no family, no friends, and no fortune, just a job at a local laundry shop. She washed, ironed, and folded clothes for people who barely acknowledged her. But to Naomi, the shop was more than a workplace. It was her only home. Each night she curled up on a small mat tucked in the back corner. Her belongings: a single cup, one chipped plate, and a worn-out wrapper for warmth. Still, Naomi was grateful. "At least I have somewhere to stay," she would whisper, holding on to what little she had. One bright morning, Naomi sat on her mat, quietly eating a small bowl of gari soaked in water. Her boss had just opened the shop. Not long after, the first customer of the day walked in, a well-dressed woman draped in bright yellow lace. Naomi quickly wiped her hands on her dress, grabbed her cup to wash her face, and rushed toward the doorway, not realizing someone else was stepping in. They collided. "Hey, are you blind?" the woman shouted, staring down at the water now splashed all over her outfit. Naomi's heart dropped. "Ah, sorry, ma. I didn't see you. Please, ma, let me clean it. Don't touch me," the woman snapped, stepping back sharply. "Do you know how expensive this dress is?" "You this dirty girl." Naomi lowered her head in shame. "I'm very sorry, ma. It was a mistake. A mistake." The woman's voice sliced through the morning air. "Is this how you people work here? No manners, no training." Before Naomi could utter another word, the woman stormed past her and disappeared into the small office where Naomi's boss sat. Naomi stood frozen. Her hands trembled. Her chest ached. Inside the office, she could hear the woman's angry voice. Clear as day. "Fire her if this is the kind of person you employ. I'm taking my business elsewhere. I can't deal with this carelessness." Her boss, a bald man with tired eyes, tried to calm her. "Madam, please. It's not that serious. She's a good worker." "I don't care," the woman snapped. "If you don't sack her, I'm done with your shop. And don't forget my fiancé is one of your biggest customers." The boss sighed, a long, heavy sigh. Then he stood up and called for Naomi. She stepped forward. Naomi's heart pounded like a drum inside her chest. "Naomi," her boss said softly, avoiding her eyes. "I don't know how to say this." "Please, sir," Naomi began quickly, her voice shaking. "I didn't mean to," he cut her off. "You've been a good worker, but I can't afford to lose a customer like her. I'm sorry, you'll have to leave." Naomi dropped to her knees. "Ah, sir. Please don't do this. I have nowhere to go. This is where I live, where I eat. Please, sir, don't send me away." Her boss looked down at her with pity, but shook his head. "Naomi, I'm sorry. My hands are tied." From the doorway, the well-dressed woman watched, smirking. "That will teach you to watch where you're going," she said smugly, before strutting out of the shop. Naomi sat on the floor, her hands over her face, tears flowing freely. Her world had just crumbled. Where would she go? How would she survive? The day had just begun. But for Naomi, it already felt like the end. She looked up at her boss one final time. "Sir, please. I don't have anywhere to go. I'll work harder. I'll wake up earlier. I'll do anything. Please don't send me away." Her voice trembled with desperation. Her boss let out a long sigh, rubbing his forehead. "Naomi, it's not about your hard work. You know I appreciate you, but that woman is my best customer. If I lose her, it'll affect the shop. I'm sorry you have to leave. But where will I go?" Naomi cried, her voice breaking. "This is the only place I have. How will I eat? How will I survive?" He looked away from her tearful eyes. "I've already made up my mind. You can't stay here anymore. Just pack your things." It felt like her entire world was crashing down. She looked around the tiny laundry shop, the place that had been her shelter for 2 whole years. It wasn't much, but it had been her home, her only home. She had no family, no friends, no money. That evening, with nothing but a small bag of clothes, Naomi walked aimlessly through the streets. The sun had set, and the town had grown quiet. Except for the occasional sound of cars rushing past, she felt invisible, like the world had forgotten she existed. As she wandered, she came across an uncompleted building. The walls were bare, rough cement blocks, and there were no windows or doors. Still, it was shelter. She peeked inside and saw a flat, dusty surface. Nothing comfortable, but better than the street. Naomi climbed over the half wall, laid a small bag on the cold ground, and sat down. "God, please help me," she whispered. She used her wrapper as a blanket and lay on the hard floor. The night was long, the wind biting, and she couldn't sleep. Her mind raced with fear. What would tomorrow bring? The next morning, voices woke her. Startled, Naomi sat up quickly. A group of men had entered the building holding tools, wearing helmets. They froze when they saw her. "Who are you?" one of them asked, his tone firm but not harsh. "And what are you doing here?" Naomi stood up. Naomi's hands trembled as she stood. "Please, sir, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to trespass." she said, her voice soft but desperate. I lost my job. I have nowhere to go. I'm hoping you might give me a chance to work here, please. I can help with the construction. I'll do anything. The men exchanged glances. Some shook their heads. This is not a job for women, one of them said. It's hard work lifting heavy blocks, mixing cement all day in the sun. Are you sure you can handle that? I can do it, sir, Naomi said, her voice firm despite the fear in her chest. I'm strong. Please, just give me a chance. They hesitated, whispering among themselves. Finally, one said, You'll have to talk to the boss. He'll be here soon. Naomi nodded quickly. Thank you, sir. I'll wait. She sat quietly in a corner of the unfinished building as the workers resumed their tasks. The sharp scent of cement filled the air, and the rhythmic clanging of tools echoed around her. Naomi pulled her wrapper tighter around her shoulders, watching silently, but inside her, a flicker of hope was beginning to burn. About an hour later, a tall man in a crisp white shirt and safety boots entered the site. His face was serious, the kind of face that didn't tolerate excuses. The workers rushed to greet him, explaining Naomi's situation. He listened, then turned and approached her slowly, his eyes scanning her from head to toe. So, you want to work here? He asked, voice deep and commanding. Yes, sir, Naomi replied, standing tall despite her exhaustion. I have no place to go and I need to survive. I will give it everything I have. He raised an eyebrow. This is not a place for playing. If you can't handle it, you'll leave immediately. Do you understand? Yes, sir, I understand. A long silence passed before he finally nodded. All right, you can start tomorrow. Naomi's face lit up with gratitude. Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir, she said, bowing slightly. That as the workers returned to their tools, Naomi sat quietly in the corner. But this time her tears weren't from sorrow. They were from the smallest spark of possibility. The next day, Naomi began her first shift. The sun was relentless, and the labor was even tougher than she'd imagined. She carried blocks on her head, mixed cement with sand, and fetched water from a nearby tap over and over again. Her arms ached, her legs burned, but she didn't stop. The workers watched her with surprise. Ah, this girl is really strong, one of them muttered. Another chuckled. Honestly, she's working harder than some of the boys here. Naomi ignored them. She had no time for praise or pity. This was her second chance, and she wouldn't let anything ruin it. A week later, the site owner arrived. Mr. Francis was a well-dressed man, tall, clean-shaven, with a calm but unmistakably powerful presence. As he walked around the site, inspecting the progress, something caught his eye. In one corner of the site, a young girl was carrying blocks on her head. Her clothes were soaked in sweat and stained with cement. But she didn't stop. He turned to the engineer beside him. Who is that girl? He asked, pointing at Naomi. The engineer hesitated. Ah, sir, her name is Naomi. She's been working here for about a week now. Mr. Francis frowned. Why is she doing this kind of work? This isn't work for a young girl. The engineer frowned, then explained. Sir, she had nowhere to go. She begged us to let her work. She's very hard-working, never complains, always gets the job done. Mr. Francis shook his head slowly. This is not right. Call her here. The engineer nodded and waved Naomi over. She quickly wiped her face with the edge of her dress and walked over, her heart pounding. Good morning, sir, Naomi said, bowing slightly. Morning, Mr. Francis replied, his voice kind but firm. What's your name? Naomi. Sir, Naomi. Why are you doing this kind of work? He asked. Don't you know it's dangerous? Too hard for someone like you. Naomi lowered her head. Sir, I have no other choice. I need to survive. Please, sir, don't send me away. I'll do anything to keep this job. Mr. Francis sighed deeply. This is not the life a young girl like you should be living. You can't continue here. I'll speak to the engineer. You have to stop this work. Naomi's heart sank. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Tears welled in her eyes as she looked up at Mr. Francis, silently begging him to change his mind, but he had already turned away by sunset. The engineer called Naomi aside. His face was heavy and she knew what was coming even before he spoke. Naomi, he began gently. Mr. Francis said you can't continue working here. It's for your own good. You're too young to be carrying such heavy loads. Naomi's chest tightened. Sir, please, I have nowhere to go. I'll work harder, I promise. I don't even mind sleeping here. The engineer shook his head. It's not my decision. I'm sorry. You know what they say, every disappointment is a blessing. I believe God will open a better door for you. Tears slipped silently down Naomi's cheeks. That evening, with her small bag pressed tightly against her side, she walked until she found another unfinished building. She climbed inside and sat on the cold cement floor. The silence of the night surrounded her like a heavy blanket. Naomi hugged herself, shivering in the wind. God, why me? She whispered. What did I do to deserve this? No answer came. Elsewhere, Mr. Francis arrived at a familiar laundry shop to collect his freshly cleaned clothes. Good evening, sir. Welcome, the shop owner greeted him warmly. Good evening, Mr. Francis replied, handing over his receipt as he waited. His eyes wandered around the shop. His thoughts drifted back to Naomi. There was something about her, something he couldn't explain. He couldn't shake the feeling that she needed help. "Excuse me," he said, turning to the owner. "Do you know a girl named Naomi? She used to work here." The owner's smile faded. "Naomi, yes, she had a problem with one of our customers. The woman wasn't happy and demanded I sack her." Mr. Francis frowned. "What customer?" The owner hesitated, then answered, "It was your fiancée, Chinny. She said the girl was rude and insisted I fire her." Mr. Francis blinked in surprise. "Chinny," he said slowly. "Are you sure?" "Yes, sir. She was very upset that Naomi spilled water on her clothes," the shop owner said, shaking his head. "She even threatened to stop bringing her laundry here if I didn't fire the girl." Francis was quiet for a moment, the weight of it sinking in. "Do you know where Naomi is now?" The owner looked down. "No idea, sir. She just left like that. I don't think she had anywhere to go." Francis thanked him and collected his clothes, but his mind was heavy. Why would Chinny go so far, over something so small? And more importantly, where was Naomi? Now, that evening, as he drove home, Francis couldn't shake the guilt gnawing at him. He had the power to help, and he didn't. But he would now, no matter how long it took. He would find her a few days later. A few days later, Naomi was walking along the roadside, her slippers worn thin, barely protecting her bruised feet from the rough, dusty ground. Her arms wrapped tightly around her body as a dry wind swept through. Her thin wrapper offered no warmth. The road was quiet, the occasional car speeding past without slowing, until headlights suddenly flooded the path ahead. A black SUV slowed beside her. The tinted window rolled down. "Naomi." She froze. That voice familiar, firm but gentle. She squinted into the light. "Sir," it was Mr. Francis. "What are you doing here at this time of night?" he asked, his voice full of concern. "I don't have anywhere to go," she said quietly, eyes lowered. Francis frowned. "Get in the car." She hesitated. "Sir, I don't want to disturb you." "You're not disturbing me. I can't leave you here like this. Please, Naomi, get in." After a moment, she climbed in. The warmth of the car wrapped around her like a blanket. As they drove, Francis gently asked her about her life, and she told him the laundry job, the cold nights in the uncompleted building, the hunger, the loneliness. Her voice was steady, but her eyes held years of pain. Francis sighed, gripping the wheel tighter. "You're too young to be going through all this," he said. "You'll come to my house. I'll find work for you there." Naomi's eyes widened. "Your house?" "But, sir, No buts," Francis interrupted. "You need help, and I can help. Don't worry." Naomi finally nodded. "Thank you, sir. God bless you." When they arrived at Francis's home, Naomi could hardly believe her eyes. A wide mansion stood glowing under garden lights. Polished floors, large windows, neatly trimmed hedges. It was another world. They stepped inside. Chinny was waiting in the living room. Her eyes narrowed the moment she saw Naomi. "Who is this?" she demanded sharply. Francis remained calm. "Her name is Naomi. She'll be staying here." Chinny's voice rose. "This dirty girl in my house. Are you serious?" "Yes, I am," Francis said firmly. "She needs help, and I've decided to help her. That's final." Chinny threw her hands up in disbelief. "Francis, have you lost your mind? Do you know what people will say when they see her here?" "I don't care what people say," Francis replied, his voice steady. "Naomi is staying. She'll work here. She'll have food and a place to sleep." Chinny turned to Naomi, her glare sharp enough to cut glass. Naomi stood silently, trying not to shake, feeling like an intruder in someone else's dream. "This is not your decision alone," Francis. Chinny snapped. "It is now," Francis replied. "She'll be staying in the guest room." Naomi quickly rushed from her room, grabbing a small towel and a bowl of water. "Ma, are you okay?" she asked softly, kneeling beside Chinny. Chinny groaned, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand, too drunk to respond clearly. Naomi didn't hesitate. She cleaned the vomit, helped Chinny sit up properly against the wall, and gently offered her the water. Chinny slapped it away. "Don't touch me," she muttered, her voice slurred and bitter. Still, Naomi didn't walk away. A few minutes later, Francis came downstairs, woken by the noise. His eyes widened at the sight. Chinny, a mess on the floor, and Naomi beside her, trying to help. "What happened?" he asked, rushing forward. She just came in like this." "Sir," Naomi said, stepping back respectfully. Francis sighed and rubbed his temples. "Naomi, go to bed. I'll take care of this." "Yes, sir," she whispered, then quietly slipped away. The next morning, Chinny stayed in bed, nursing a hangover. Francis sat alone on the balcony, sipping his coffee, replaying the scene from the night before. Naomi cleaned her up. Chinny could barely stand, yet Naomi didn't complain, not once. Later that day, Francis knocked gently on Naomi's door. She opened it slowly. "Good afternoon, sir. Come," he said. "Let's take a walk." They strolled through the garden. Flowers swayed gently in the breeze, but Naomi's expression stayed unsure. "Naomi," Francis said, stopping under a tree, "I want to ask you something. Why did you help her last night?" Naomi blinked, surprised by the question. "Because she was sick, sir. I couldn't just leave her like that." Francis looked at her thoughtfully. "Even after how she treats you?" Naomi nodded. "It's not about her, it's about me. I want to be kind, no matter what." He didn't respond for a moment. Then he smiled, a slow, quiet smile. "You have a good heart." Naomi. Over the next few weeks things began to shift. Francis started paying closer attention. When Chinny shouted, he stepped in. When Naomi skipped meals, he made sure she was fed. He even started asking her opinion about small household matters. Naomi, though still humble, began to smile more. She worked hard, and the other staff began to admire her diligence and quiet strength. Chinny, on the other hand, grew more bitter with every passing day. She felt her hold on Francis slipping, and she didn't like it. One evening, as Naomi was folding laundry, Chinny cornered her. "You think you're smart, don't you?" she hissed. Naomi froze. "Don't act innocent," Chinny snapped. "You're trying to turn Francis against me. I see it. All your fake kindness, your tears. You think this house will be yours." Naomi looked at her, her voice low but calm. "I don't want anything from you. I just want peace." Chinny laughed coldly. "Peace? Let's see how long that lasts." Naomi nodded with quiet empathy. "I'm sorry, sir. Maybe I can bring you some warm tea. It might help." Francis blinked. That simple offer touched him more than he expected. "That would be nice," he said with a tired smile. Moments later, Naomi returned with a tray. A steaming cup of ginger tea sat beside a plate of light snacks. She placed it carefully in front of him. "Thank you," he said, taking a sip. "You made this?" Naomi nodded shyly. "Yes, sir. I used to make it for my grandmother when she was tired." Francis smiled. "You're thoughtful, Naomi." Their eyes met briefly, and Naomi looked away. Her cheeks warmed. In the days that followed, Naomi became the quiet strength in the house. She never raised her voice, never argued, but her presence brought peace. Even the other house staff started looking to her for guidance. Meanwhile, Chinny watched from a distance, bitterness burning in her chest. Every laugh shared between Naomi and Francis, every soft conversation, felt like a dagger. One afternoon, as Naomi was arranging fresh flowers in the hallway, Chinny walked by and stopped. "Don't think I don't see what you're doing," she sneered. Naomi turned, startled. "Ma, you think you're winning him over? That because you cook tea and act humble, you'll take my place?" Chinny spat. Naomi stood firm, her voice calm. "I'm not trying to take anyone's place. I just want peace and to do my work," Chinny scoffed. "We'll see how long that peace lasts." That night, Francis sat at his desk, unable to focus. His mind kept drifting to Naomi, her gentle spirit, her resilience, her quiet beauty. He had tried to ignore it, to remain professional. But something in his heart was shifting. He got up and walked toward the kitchen, where Naomi was finishing up the dishes. "Naomi," he said softly. She turned. "Yes, sir." He hesitated for a moment, then said, "I just wanted to thank you for everything. You've brought something into this house that's been missing for a long time. Kindness." Naomi smiled faintly. "Thank you, sir. That means a lot." There was a pause, a silence heavy with emotion neither of them dared to name. "Good night, Naomi," Francis said finally. "Good night, sir." But Chinny was watching, and she was not going to let Naomi win so easily. Naomi was rinsing the last plate when she heard Chinny's heels tapping sharply against the tiled floor. She froze, her fingers still under the running tap. "You think you're clever, don't you?" Chinny's voice was cold. Naomi turned slowly. "Ma." Chinny stepped closer, arms crossed. "Don't pretend you don't know what you're doing. Smiling like an angel, dressing like a servant, but deep down you're trying to steal my man." Naomi's eyes widened in shock. "No, Ma, I would never save it," Chinny snapped. "I've seen the way he looks at you. And now gifts, dresses. Next thing he'll be calling you his wife." Naomi shook her head, voice trembling. "Please, Ma, I have no such intentions. I'm only grateful for the kindness he showed me." Chinny's voice dropped low, almost a whisper. "Listen, girl, this house, this life is mine. If I catch you getting any closer to Francis, I swear you'll regret ever stepping foot in here." With that, she turned and stormed out, leaving Naomi shaken. That evening, Francis returned home. Naomi greeted him at the door as usual, but her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. He noticed immediately. "Naomi, is something wrong?" he asked gently. "No, sir," she replied too quickly. "Just a little tired." Francis frowned but didn't press. He knew something was off. Later he found Chinny lounging in the living room, scrolling on her phone. "Chinny," he said seriously, "did you say anything to Naomi?" She looked up with fake innocence. "Me know why? Because she seems frightened. And I know how you get when you feel insecure." Chinny laughed bitterly. "Insecure because of a housemaid?" Francis folded his arms. "If you ever threaten her again, there will be consequences." Chinny sat up. "Oh, so now you're protecting her?" "I'm protecting what's right," Francis said. "Naomi is a good person, and I won't stand by while she's mistreated." That night, Naomi sat alone in her small room, staring at the dress Francis had given her. Her heart was heavy with fear and confusion. She whispered into the quiet, "God, I don't know what's happening. I just want peace." But deep in her heart, she knew things were changing, and soon, nothing would be the same. Naomi nodded, silently, clutching the sides of her old faded dress as she got into the car. Her heart was a storm of emotions: fear, shame, and helplessness. Chinny's threat echoed in her ears, and Francis's disappointment cut through her like a knife. The ride to the site was quiet. Francis gripped the steering wheel tightly. occasionally glancing at Naomi, who stared out the window with watery eyes. Something wasn't right. He knew it. That dress meant a lot to her. Why wouldn't she wear it? When they arrived at the construction site, the workers immediately recognized Naomi. One of them shouted, hurrying over, "You look well. We missed you." "Oh." A small smile broke across Naomi's face. "I missed you all too," she said softly. Francis watched her interact with the workers. The way they respected her, the warmth in their voices. She wasn't just any girl, she had character, heart, and dignity. Later, as they drove back home, Francis broke the silence. "Naomi," he said, eyes still on the road, "did something happen to the dress I bought you?" Naomi froze. Her fingers gripped the hem of her gown. "No, sir. She stammered. Francis slowed the car and pulled over by the roadside. "Look at me," he said gently. Naomi turned slowly. Tears were already gathering in her eyes. "Tell me the truth," he said. "Did Chini do something?" Naomi hesitated for a moment, but then the pain burst out of her like a flood. "She burned it, sir," Naomi whispered. "She said I was trying to take you away from her. She threatened me. I didn't want to cause more trouble." Francis stared at her in disbelief. "She burned it," Naomi nodded, wiping her tears. "I'm sorry, I didn't know what to do." Francis's jaw clenched. He sat back in the seat, fists tightening around the steering wheel. "That's enough," he said after a long pause. "She's gone too far this time." When they arrived home, Francis stormed into the house. Chini was lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone as usual. "You burned her dress?" he asked sharply. Chini looked up, feigning innocence. "What dress?" "The one I gave Naomi." "Don't play dumb, Chini." Chini stood up, eyes flashing. "So what if I did?" "She's a housemaid. Francis, you're treating her like royalty, because she behaves more like one than you do." Francis snapped. "She's kind, she's respectful. She's never asked me for a thing, unlike you who only knows how to take and destroy." "You're defending her now," Chini screamed. "You're to want her to replace me." "No," Francis said calmly. "You've already done that yourself." That night, Naomi was sitting quietly in her room when Francis knocked gently and stepped in. In his hand was a small box. "Naomi," he said softly, "this is for you." She opened the box slowly. Inside was another dress, even more beautiful than the first. Her eyes widened. "Sir." Francis smiled. "You don't have to say anything. I just want you to know you're appreciated. No one can take away your dignity, not even Chini." Naomi looked up at him, her voice trembling. "Thank you, sir. I won't forget your kindness." As their eyes met, something deeper passed between them, not just gratitude or admiration, but something real, something that was quietly blossoming. Naomi stood frozen, unsure of what to do, while Chini glared at her from the corner with pure hostility. Francis, noticing Chini's menacing stare, called out firmly, "Naomi, get in the car," I said now. With a heavy sigh, Naomi obeyed, climbed into the car, and as they drove away, she cast a fearful glance back at Chini, who watched them with burning anger. Naomi knew Chini wouldn't stop until she was completely pushed out of the picture. One afternoon, Chini surprised Naomi by calling her into the living room and asking her to sit on the couch, her voice calm and almost sweet. Naomi hesitated but obeyed, sensing something different in Chini's tone. Chini confessed to having been harsh since Naomi arrived, admitting she had said things she shouldn't and treated her badly. She asked for forgiveness and promised to treat Naomi like a younger sister from then on. Naomi, relieved and cautious, smiled lightly and accepted, eager to keep the peace. Chini then asked for a favor. She wasn't good at cooking and wanted Naomi to make noodles for her. Naomi's face lit up at the chance to do something positive, and she hurried to prepare the meal. When Naomi brought the noodles to Chini, she looked pleased, and Naomi felt hope that things might improve. But just moments after Naomi retreated to her room, she suddenly heard Chini's voice shouting loudly from the living room. Her heart skipped a beat as she rushed out, her voice trembling with concern. "Madam, what happened?" But instead of kindness, she was met with Chini's face twisted in anger. And Naomi realized that beneath the surface, the tension and hostility had not disappeared at all. In anger, Chini yelled, "So you want to poison me? What did I ever do to you?" Naomi's mouth fell open in shock. "Madam, I didn't put anything into your food. Please believe me," she said, trying to stay calm, tears streaming down her face. Chini pointed accusingly. "I saw you with my own two eyes. You put something in my food. This wicked girl wants to take my life," she cried out, turning to Francis just as he walked into the room. Francis looked confused, glancing between the two women. "What's going on here?" he asked tensely. Chini's cries grew louder, her fingers still pointed at Naomi. "Look at her, she's trying to poison me," she shouted, practically wailing. Naomi stepped forward desperately. "Madame, I swear I didn't put anything in your food. I was just trying to help." But Chini wasn't listening, her eyes wide with fake fear. She continued shouting, "She's lying, Francis. She poisoned my food." To prove her innocence, Naomi grabbed the bowl of noodles Chini had barely touched and ate a large spoonful in front of them. "There, you see, there's nothing in your food. I didn't poison you." But before she could finish, A sharp pain hit her stomach. She doubled over, clutching her belly as the room spun. Naomi, Frances shouted, rushing to her side as she fell to her knees, gasping for air. What's happening? Are you okay? Naomi screamed in pain, tears streaming down her face. Chinny watched silently from the side. Then a wicked smile spread across her face as she began to laugh. I told you, Frances. I saw her poison the food, she said, almost joyfully. Frances panicked. He turned to Naomi, who was lying on the floor, breathing shallowly. Hold on, Naomi. I'm taking you to the hospital. He scooped her into his arms and rushed out, his mind racing, unable to believe what was unfolding. Was this all a cruel trick by Chinny? Naomi slowly opened her eyes in the hospital bed. The soft beeping of machines was the first thing she noticed. Frances sat beside her, holding her hand tightly, worry etched deep on his face. When he saw her awake, his eyes softened with relief. Naomi, you're awake. Thank God, he said, shakily. Naomi tried to smile but felt weak. What happened? She whispered. You collapsed after eating the noodles, Frances explained. But you're going to be fine. The doctor said so. Naomi closed her eyes, remembering the pain in Chinny's cruel accusations. Tears welled up, but she said nothing. Frances looked at her seriously. Naomi, I have to tell you something. He paused, then continued. I checked the living room cameras. Chinny did something terrible. She set you up. Naomi looked at him in shock. What do you mean, sir? Chinny did. She put something in that food to make it look like I was poisoning her. Frances nodded, his voice growing firmer with each word. I saw it all on the footage. She's the one who did this. Naomi stared at him, stunned. But why? What did I do to deserve this? Frances looked down, his heart heavy. I don't know, but I will make sure she pays for what she did. With that, he stood up and left the room, his mind set on confronting Chinny. When he got home, he didn't hold back. Walking into the living room where Chinny was seated, he said, Pack your things and leave my house. What's going on? Chinny asked, trying to stay calm. Don't pretend you don't know, Frances replied. There's a camera in this living room, and I've seen everything. If I call the police, you'll be in big trouble, so just leave. With that, Frances turned and walked away, leaving Chinny trembling, knowing there was no way out. Ashamed, she quietly gathered her things and left, her head hanging low. Days passed, and Naomi slowly regained her strength. She was back in the house, resting in the room Frances had prepared for her. One afternoon, Frances sat beside her with a gentle smile. Naomi, he said softly, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you. You didn't deserve any of this. You're a good person, and I want to make things right. Naomi looked at him, still not fully understanding. I'm just glad I'm okay, she replied softly. You're more than okay, Frances said. I've been thinking a lot about your future. You told me you wanted to go back to school, right? Naomi nodded slowly, unsure where he was going. Frances smiled, his eyes shining with kindness. I've already spoken to the right people. You're enrolled again. I'll help with the fees, whatever you need. I'll be here to support you. This is your chance to chase your dreams. Naomi's eyes widened. You're serious? Of course I am, he said, voice warm but firm. You deserve every opportunity. Naomi, I believe in you. Tears filled Naomi's eyes as she looked at him, overwhelmed with gratitude. Thank you, sir. You don't know how much this means to me. You don't have to thank me, Frances said sincerely. You're family now, and family takes care of each other. Naomi smiled, feeling a warmth she had never known before. For the first time in a long while, she felt she had a real chance at a future free of fear and doubt. And with Frances by her side, she knew she could do anything. She wasn't alone anymore. One evening, Frances sat in the living room, lost in thought. Naomi walked in to ask if he needed anything. Her simple smile and gentle voice always had a calming effect on him. Naomi, he said, looking up at her. Yes, sir, she replied respectfully, standing with her hands clasped in front of her. Come and sit, Frances said, patting the seat beside him. Naomi hesitated but eventually sat down. For a moment, he said nothing, just looked at her. Then, his voice was soft but firm. Naomi, you've been through so much, yet you're always kind. You never complain. Your humility, your strength, it amazes me. Naomi, Frances said softly, blinking as he met her eyes. Naomi looked surprised. Sir, I'm just doing my best. No, it's more than that, Frances replied, his gaze steady. You've changed my life in ways I didn't expect, and I think I've fallen in love with you. Naomi's eyes widened, and she was left speechless. I know it's sudden, Frances continued, but my heart has never been this sure about anything. Sir, Naomi began, her voice trembling. You're a big man, and I'm just. Don't say that, Frances interrupted gently. It's not about where you come from. It's about who you are. And you, Naomi, are extraordinary. Naomi looked down, her heart pounding, unsure of what to say. Take your time, Frances said kindly. I just wanted you to know how I feel. A few months later, Frances called Naomi into the living room. This time he was standing, dressed neatly, holding a small velvet box in his hand. Naomi, he began as she walked in, her heart pounding. I've made up my mind. I want you to be my wife. Naomi gasped. Sir, are you sure? Frances smiled warmly. I've never been sure about anything in my life. You're everything I've been looking for. Tears filled Naomi's eyes as she looked at him. But I don't know how to be a wife. I don't know how to live like you. We'll learn together, Francis said, taking her hands in his. All I need is you by my side. Naomi nodded slowly, overwhelmed with joy and disbelief. Yes, sir. I'll marry you. Francis laughed and pulled her into a hug. No more, sir. Call me Francis. Their wedding was small but beautiful. Close friends and family gathered to celebrate the unlikely love story. Naomi wore a simple, white dress, and Francis couldn't take his eyes off her. As they exchanged vows, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. It was a story of hope, love, and redemption. Naomi's life changed forever from a homeless girl on the streets to the cherished wife of a kind man. Her journey proved that kindness and perseverance could lead to unexpected blessings. Francis kept his promise to support Naomi's dreams. She went back to school and later started a foundation to help young girls in need. This story teaches us that life can take unexpected turns, and no matter how tough things get, kindness, humility, and perseverance will always shine through. It reminds us never to judge people by their situation but by the goodness of their hearts. True love isn't about wealth, status, or appearance. It's about seeing the beauty in someone's soul and standing by them no matter what. To my amazing audience, what did you learn from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed the story, please give it a thumbs up to let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss the next interesting upload. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in my next story.